I'm live on YouTube. All right, folks, I want to say hello. My name is Eric Abbey, and I am coming to you on the Just One Dime channel and greeting you in the name of Arbitrage. We're here noon Central Standard Time every Saturday, and we're taking your questions and hopefully giving some satisfying answers, some helpful answers regarding arbitrage. So Just One Dime does a ton with private label. We're excited about private label. We're behind that. But we are also excited about arbitrage, which is another opportunity for you to diversify your portfolio, add to your selling on Amazon, and we want to talk about that. So my guest is Regina Robinson. Regina, say hi.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing today? I'm with you on Eric. I'm getting excited about arbitrage, especially now. Right.
Good. Bouncer, I see you. Doug, I see you. We are happy to be here with you, and we're looking for your questions. So go ahead and post them in the chat, and we'll get to those in a few minutes. I'm wondering how many of you viewing the program have ever either acquired something, you've gone out and found something for free and then sold it for a good profit, or even went out and bought something because you recognized that it was worth more what you could pay for it, and then you could sell it and make a profit. An example of this was about a year ago. Yeah, it was just at the end of summer. I saw a guy who had a stack of studded snow tires in his yard for sale for $100, which I thought was a pretty good deal. And I stopped to see if they might fit my vehicle. I live in northern Vermont, and they don't do a really good job of taking care of the roads here, in my opinion, and you really need snow tires. So I took a look at them, and they didn't fit my vehicle, but I bought them anyways. So Regina, I don't know if you're like that, but it's hard for me to pass up a deal. I didn't even have a vehicle I could put these things on, but I looked at them and they looked like they had never been used. And so I took these snow tires home. I put them in my garage. I made sure they were clean and looking decent, took a number of good photographs of them, and I just put them on Craigslist. And it was the perfect time because the winter season was coming. And I sold that set of snow tires for $300. And I think the person I sold them to got a decent deal. I just wanted to move them. But it's really fun for me if I can find an opportunity where I can buy something for $100 and sell it for $300. And really, that's what arbitrage is. Arbitrage is simply taking advantage of two different markets, one where the item is priced low and then selling it in another market where the price is higher and you can make a profit. Humans have been doing it for centuries, for millennia. They did it with silk. They did it with crops. Regina and I are doing it with anything that we can sell on the Amazon platform. So Amazon gives a really sweet opportunity because they've created an online worldwide marketplace that people like me and you can reach. And so if you can find any item in a clearance section, if you can find it in a discount situation, you can buy at a low price, and then you can sell it on Amazon for a greater price. The profit can be yours. And that's what Regina and I do. And that's what we're here to talk about. And I think this is probably of interest to you because I know each one of us likes the idea of adding margin to our budget, being able to gain a little bit of freedom. So Regina and I aren't really advocating that for you to become a millionaire. We'd love that for you. I wouldn't mind that, I guess. But I think the goal for us and what makes arbitrage seem like a realistic endeavor is that by taking some simple steps, you can move forward to a place where you can create real margin in your budget. And it might only be a few $100s a month. It might be $500 a month. I was excited when I got to the place where I had $1,000 a month at additional margin to my budget because it just gave me so much freedom. I could really pay down debt. I could start to set goals and move towards them. I could rearrange my life so that the things I really cared about, my convictions, the people I really cared about could take center stage in my life. And so if you're watching this, it's probably because you have a similar mindset where you like to kind of find discounts and turn items, and you have a vision for how you can make a profit off of that. And you're really interested in getting busy doing something to create some margin. So my encouragement is that this will be helpful for you, but you won't just sit around and watch YouTube videos with the hope that and the wishes that it would be nice to have margin, but that you'll see that there's some steps you can actually take to move in that direction. And so I'm inviting you to click the link below and check out our membership, our Amazon Arbitrage Mastery membership. I think it would be a great way to get started. I'm inviting you to put some questions in the chat because we're going to get to those shortly. I'm seeing folks on here. I recognize names from past weeks. Extortion Watchers, what is your opinion on IP alerts? We're going to get to that in a minute because IP complaints are becoming a bigger and bigger problem on Amazon. And so I'm going to address that in just a couple minutes. Pocket Man, I see you. Hassan, Kyle, I see you guys. And I'm excited that everybody's with us, and we're going to deal with questions as soon as we can. But I think it's right to just ask, what would it look like for you to have added margin to your budget? Because it's really exciting to be able to take steps to find additional financial freedom. And selling on Amazon is a great opportunity for you to do that. One of the things that broke this out for me that helped me to really realize I could make this work is what's called Amazon FBA. So if you're unfamiliar with what it is like to sell on Amazon, Amazon has created an opportunity where they can fulfill all of your orders as a seller. So FBA stands for Fulfillment by Amazon, and they take care of a lot of the hard work. They store your products, they pick them off the shelf, they pack them when the item sells, and they take care of all the shipping, all the customer returns, customer service, questions. They do what Amazon does best, and you can profit from that service because I could always flip snow tires in the fall. I could buy and sell items on eBay, but I never really understood how I could scale that business and actually get into a situation where I was making significant margin and adding that to my budget because I wasn't going to sell 100 items on eBay and pack each one up. But when I recognized that Amazon has this option, and by the way, 2 years ago in 2017, Amazon published the statistics for the first time that proved that they were making more money from third-party sellers like Regina and I and others of you here that sell on Amazon than they were from their own sales. And that's because of this FBA system that they've created. They're fulfilling their own orders and they're fulfilling the orders of third-party sellers, and it's all going through their warehouses, their fulfillment centers. They're offering prime services, which you can do with FBA. All the perks that come with Amazon and all the things that Amazon customers love, you can take advantage of, which is why it can be such an advantageous and lucrative business, because people love Amazon. I mean, who doesn't shop on Amazon? So if your products are in the mix, all your friends and family that are going to Amazon are right in the marketplace that you're taking advantage of. And if somebody wants to buy your product and you're using FBA, they get their Prime, they get their free returns, they get all the customer service and the things they love about Amazon. They already trust Amazon, and so they're going to be likely to purchase your products. Now, before we get to the questions, I want to share my screen and I want to talk a little bit about IP complaints because these are becoming a big problem on Amazon. They're becoming a challenge for third-party sellers. IP simply stands for intellectual property, and brand rights owners are now given the opportunity to file complaints where they think that sellers are offering counterfeit products, or sellers are violating a copyright law or a trademark, or doing something illegal or illicit with a particular listing or a particular brand that brand rights owner is concerned about. And the reason Amazon is doing this, the reason Amazon has given brand rights owners the opportunity to file these complaints is they're having to deal with what's really a large-scale problem. You've got third-party sellers the world over who are joining Amazon and recognizing that they can sell, and that they can sell in an illicit manner to try to make quick money. And so, they're taking advantage maybe of a Nike listing that describes a pair of Nike shorts, and they're getting in there and offering a product, but when they sell it, they're shipping a knockoff. It's not really the actual brand. And this has become a big problem for Amazon. Customers are complaining about getting inauthentic products all the time. Amazon's returns have escalated as a result of that. Customer dissatisfaction has escalated as a result. And Amazon loves the third-party seller. They've created a good situation for third-party sellers. In fact, like I said a minute ago, they're making more profit and generating more revenue for Amazon than Amazon is doing itself. And so they want to work to figure this out. They don't want to just eliminate third-party sellers from their platform, but they've got to tackle this problem. And so that's the context in which they're trying to figure out, how do we deal with people who are making illicit sales and deliberately deciding to inappropriately sell products. And this is how they're doing it. They're giving brand rights owners the opportunity to file a complaint, and then they're doing investigations. And unfortunately, even if you're selling with integrity and you're offering legitimate products that match the listings precisely and are an accurate representation of the brand, you can get caught up in that, because brand rights owners can make a complaint towards you if you're not a recognized distributor that they've given permission to sell. And now you're kind of caught in the middle of the crossfire, and you've got to figure out how to navigate that, because these IP complaints don't necessarily go away easy. And you have to prove to Amazon that the products you have are authentic, and that the complaint that the brand rights owner is levying against you isn't true, doesn't have any sticking power. Or if you've made some sort of mistake and they did have a legitimate complaint, even when you remove your product and delete the listing, you've got to give a plan of action for how you can prevent that from happening in the future. And all of this is just becoming more and more prevalent and more difficult for third-party sellers to handle. So I'm going to share my screen. The way that you want to monitor this if you're selling on Amazon is you need to pay attention to your account health. If you're already selling on Amazon, you can go to Amazon Seller Central. About halfway down on the left side column is a button on the words account health. You can click that and actually look at your account health, and you'll get a screen like this. And so what you can see is a snapshot from what I was dealing with during the summertime. And I had a complaint from a brand rights owner called Royal Robins. And this was really one complaint, but it was a complaint filed against 23 different variations of items that I had listed. And so it comes across as 23 potential violations, or 23 violations that they're noting. So what you can see here is you've got a lot of different categories that complaints can be filed under. Suspected intellectual property, that's kind of a soft complaint, and they're a little bit easier to deal with. But then actual IP complaints, product authenticity complaints, condition complaints, if a customer says, this was supposed to be a brand new product, but I got it and it was used, you can find defects here. And then other things like product safety, restricted products, that sort of thing. The biggest ones that have been of issue are probably these top three spheres, all having to do with intellectual property. And so I'm having to deal with this. Regina's having to deal with this. A lot of third-party sellers are having to deal with this. And I'm really thankful that I'm a part of a community that's troubleshooting it together. Another reason why I really like the Amazon Arbitrage Mastery membership that you can check out below, because it's kind of a group think effort to deal with these. And I just wanted to address the issue and let you know that this is really important. You've got to jump on it. So what I did as soon as first of all, you need to be monitoring your account health. So it's easy for sellers to just be neglecting that. And Amazon will send you a policy warning email when one of these is registered. Don't ignore those emails. Make sure you're looking at your email, or make sure that on a daily basis, you're checking your account health and you're taking a look at this screen to see if you have any defects. And as soon as you recognize a defect, you got to jump on it and take care of it immediately. And so my recommendation would be to remove your inventory immediately. And again, in the arbitrage world, you only have a few items. And so this isn't going to be a big scale issue that you have to deal with. To create a simple removal order, delete the listing or the listings that are in question. And then you want to enter into the appeal process to give Amazon an explanation why you think this claim has no sticking power. And so it's important to keep receipts and submit those to Amazon Seller Performance, and really to give them an explanation of why you think this complaint came forward and how you've dealt with it in a swift manner. And when I did that by communicating with Seller Performance and appealing the process, and you can see it says right there, next steps, you can appeal. They removed these defects, and I was able to go on my merry way. And as long as this is all zeros, you're in good shape. As long as there's IP complaints there's defects there, you want to be working to resolve them and not assuming that they're just going to vanish, and not assuming that Amazon's going to ignore them, because this is probably the biggest reason why people are finding their accounts deactivated. It's IP complaints that get unresolved. So my encouragement to you is to be aware of your account health and be jumping on these right away. And in our membership, we go into great detail about how to engage with these, and we're constantly trying to keep current on how Amazon is handling this because it changes over time. So this fall, sellers are running into a lot more difficulty resolving these IP complaints than even in the summertime. So the ones I just showed you were from July, and they were resolved pretty easily. Members are running into a lot of trouble now, and we're working through how to do that. So the membership has tons of content in regard to how to get your Amazon Seller Central account set up, how to do arbitrage, how to do good product research. We do deep dives on that so that you can find quality products, be confident that you're making money, how the FBA system works, when to use FBA and FBM. I mean, on and on and on, how to use tools. We get into a lot of that, but we also try to publish consistent updates so that we're staying current and the community is staying current. And it's probably the most helpful aspect of our membership. So click the link below and take a look at that. And what I want to do now is get to the questions. But I wanted to address this IP issue because a lot of sellers are running into it, and it's the basis for a lot of fear and trembling. It's causing anxiety amongst sellers because they're nervous it's going to put their accounts at risk. Sellers are finding that their accounts are being deactivated. And so, now their business that's been trucking along comes to a screeching halt, and they're scrambling to try to recover that. And part of what we're learning is that Amazon has established a new team called the Account Health. What's the S stand for? Account Health Services Team, maybe, or I think it's the Account Health Support Team. And it's a fairly new team that they've established to try to give you access to more information to know what seller performance is looking for. So traditionally, you've had Amazon Seller Performance, that's kind of the untouchable group of decision makers that are hard to contact. And then you've got the third-party sellers that are having to make their appeals and argue their cases. And when they get a response that is unclear, it's hard to know how to submit more information. And so Amazon has created this account health support team that's meant to be a go-between. And again, we're working to put some stuff together for members of Amazon Arbitrage Mastery to know how to contact them, how to make that, get a hold of that team and try to find out as much you can do to resolve these IP complaints. So those are really important, and I just want to address that at the front of the program. And if you have follow-up questions, let me know, and we can get into that more. So Regina, let's look to the questions. That's really what this is all about. So I'm going to stop just going on by myself, and we're going to take a look at what people are asking. So Doug, I see you. Doug701, when I am told that I need approval to sell in the toy category or brand, Amazon asks for an invoice. Will a receipt from Target work? The short answer, Doug, is no. A receipt from Target or any other retailer isn't sufficient for what they're asking for. But to put that in context, Regina, would you talk about restrictions and kind of what we recommend people do when they encounter a restriction, and just put this question in its context?
Yeah, because what you're talking about, Doug, is when you're out in the store and you're scanning and it says that you're restricted, that you're gated pretty much for that particular toy category. Like I'll pick one major brand out there for toys, Fisher-Price. It's huge. They have everything under Fisher-Price. So if you're looking at anything Fisher-Price, you're going to scan it and it says you can't sell this product new. That means you're gated. So once you get home and try to look at that product, you'll see you're gated, but you can click on it when you're on next to the listing, where you're trying to add the product. There's a little button you can click to try and see if you can get approved or not. If you click on it, it takes you to another page. And from there, then you can request permission to sell. A lot of times, most of the time, unless it's a product maybe you're already going to be probably close to getting cleared for, it's going to say no. It's going to come to another page, say you got to submit proof from a manufacturer or distributor that you're approved to go ahead and sell this product, and so on and so forth. When you get to that page is basically telling you it's a lot of work and it's not really worth it to just go ahead and pass that page and just say, you know what, let's go to another product. Okay. So you want to keep doing that. But there are a lot of products that may say you're restricted on your phone, but then, or if you're doing online, you'll click that button to be you'll be auto approved immediately. And it's such a good feeling when that happens, because now you're saying, great, I can actually sell this particular item. It may not be clearance for the entire brand. It may just be some type of items or category of items with that brand as well. So it all depends on what it is. And I've had some, sellers saying, "Oh man, I can't get into the Fisher Price brand, and that just takes away all my opportunity to sell." Well, that's one way to look at it. What I prefer to look at is saying, "Okay, I can't sell Fisher Price. That's okay. Yeah, big market, but there are thousands of other companies and other products out there that I can focus on that I should be able to sell, and that's what I'll focus on. And I'll leave the Fisher Price alone." And I can sell a lot more besides that. Plus, the other thing too is when you look at some of these big brands, the Fisher Price or the Nike that Eric mentioned earlier, there's a lot of competition out there to try and sell them. Now, they're great sellers, absolutely. They're great sellers. Rankings are low, they're perfect, but there's a lot of competition. So would you be better off having the high competition selling a brand name? Maybe. You'd have to weigh it out and see. Or you might sell something that's not such a big brand name that you're allowed to sell. And can you still sell fine as well? Absolutely, you can. And that's where the best focus is to get on some of those items that you may not be on the top shelf, of what you want to sell, but you can still sell them, and you can still sell a lot, and you can make a lot of good money as well. So don't focus on necessarily the brand name. Don't get married to a particular product or a brand or an item. Go for the ones that you know you can sell and that you can make money on, whatever it may be.
Yeah, that's a good answer. And you get auto approved based on your seller performance history. So anytime that you click that button to apply and you get automatic approval, that's the basis. It says right on the screen, based on your seller performance history. So the best thing you can do to get ungated is to make more sales, establish your account history, maybe try to make sales in that category or on other listings that are related to that brand. And then in due time, you'll find that you'll get ungated in more and more brands and categories. Though, just to kind of manage your expectations that this will always be something that you're dealing with. I'm constantly running into brands that I'm restricted in selling. And you'll find that there are brands that you're not restricted in that you become restricted in because they've, entered into a transparency agreement with Amazon or something like that. So work on your account. It's another reason to pay attention to your account health, because if you maintain good account health, it's going to give you a greater platform to apply and get auto approval on restrictions. I see Ashley saying that she's been doing it with sneakers. I think getting started on Amazon would be great. Then you've already got a mind for it. You've already been working the territory. I sell a ton of sneakers and shoes on Amazon. There's a market for that. But the cool thing about arbitrage is you can do just about anything. You don't need to restrict yourself and only focus on one kind of item. I see Pocket Man's showing some frustration, saying that I'm flogging the course. I'm not even sure what that means. I'm not hitting it, but I'm pointing people to a course that I have found to be extremely helpful. And to me, Just One Dime and their community is what has really propelled my ability to sell and make money and troubleshoot and overcome obstacles. And so, I mean, you can do so much more through a community and a membership than you can through an hour Q&A. So I'm happy to teach. If Pocket Man has questions, I'll do the best I can to answer them. But I'm not going to be ashamed of pointing you to our membership, because it's really the heartbeat of what we are promoting to do effective work on Amazon. So I'm not really ashamed of that. But you're under no obligation to purchase the membership either. So you can go on to somewhere else. That's fine. Hassan, I'm having a great weekend so far. I'm looking out the window and seeing sunshine, and that's going to be a fun opportunity to join my kids at the park in an hour or two. Kyle, good to see you on here. Why is my Amazon seller current balance lower than what I think it should be? That's a really hard question for me to answer, because I don't know why you think it should be what it is, but they don't hold money for, there's no reason that they would hold money. And once a sale goes through, you might have a pending sale, and as long as the sale's in the pending status, you won't have been paid for it. But as soon as the sale goes through, it'll affect your balance. And so I could guess that the reason your balance is lower than you think it should be is probably one of two reasons. One, they've taken out more fees than you thought. So there was a return that you're not making an account for, or you're not thinking of the monthly professional membership fee, or there's a long-term storage fee that hit, or something like that. Or your calculations are wrong. I don't know. But no, I don't think you need to worry that there's some money that they owe you that's amiss, what I would do is I'd dig in there, and you can get, if you click on what your paycheck amount is in the upper right-hand corner of Seller Central, you can do a deep dive and look at a transaction history, and it'll actually show you what money's been coming in, what money's been coming out. If there's a storage fee, you'll see it. If there's a subscription fee, you'll see it. And I would kind of comb through that, and you might say, oh, I wasn't accounting for that. Or you'll see something in there that'll kind of explain why the numbers are what they are. And by the way, I go in there every 2 weeks when I get my 2-week paycheck, and I print a report and I pass that on to my accountant who enters it into QuickBooks. And so I use that as a basis for actually keeping track of my financials through QuickBooks, so that at the end of the year, I've got an accurate representation of what to pass on to the IRS. Regina, how do you navigate financials in that respect? Do you do it similarly, or do you have a different approach?
Similarly, you want to be able to go in there. I use a program called Inventory Lab, and that also I can print up all of my products and what my profits and expenses and everything have been to, and that actually just prints up my P&L statement at the end for that month or that period, quarter, whatever you want to look at. And that's actually very helpful to the accountant too. They like all that kind of information. I know the accountant will want to know what your inventory is at the end of the year that you have that's not sold. So you might want to keep track of that as far as when you get close to December 31st, try and get an account of what kind of inventory you have and how much you paid for it.
Yeah, that's really important. That's your cost of goods expense. And you need to know what all those numbers are. You need to know what you paid for every item. One of the first things we promote in our membership is the use of a spreadsheet that I put together to keep track of all that stuff. So it's really helpful to be organized from the beginning so that you can report your taxes accurately, and really just so you know your own financials and know what to look at as you're taking a look at the business. Kyle, give me a follow-up question if I can be more helpful. Salima, good to see you. I'm trying to understand your question. What is realistic time frame to set 1,000, 2,000, 3,000? So I don't know if the question is how long is it realistic to expect that you're going to make $1,000 in total, $1,000 a month? I know for me, after 6 months of really working arbitrage, I was seeing between, I don't know, $300 and $500 a month in profitability. So it took me 3 or 4 months to get to a place of being profitable because I kept reinvesting all my payouts into inventory, and I was building up my inventory. So I went at least 3 months without actually seeing a profit. I was getting payouts, but they weren't outweighing the amount of money I was putting into the business. But by month 4 or 5, it had snowballed and tipped over so that I was seeing profit. And for a consistent amount of months, I was at $300 to $500 a month in ongoing profit. And then I would probably say after a year, I was a lot closer to $1,000 a month. And I steadied out at $1,000 a month for a while until I tried to troubleshoot how I could broaden my opportunities, how I could kind of press my business to the next level. I think if you ran at it hard, I wasn't a part of a membership. I didn't have any instruction. I was just kind of dorking along on my own and duct taping my business together with rubber bands and stuff. And I was able to make it successful. So I think if you had the help of a community and you had some instruction, you could probably get to $1,000 a month in less than a year. I think that's reasonable. And arbitrage is alive and well. People are joining Amazon and selling and finding good success. So I think you could make that work for sure. Regina, how would you everyone's story is a little different. So I'm basing it on what my experience has been like, and some on what member feedback is like from our membership. But Regina, what has your experience been like, or how might you view those numbers differently?
Well, when you look at the numbers too, you got to know what your costs are for everything that your purchases, what's your purchase price, but then consider all your other costs for everything else that you're going to do, from your gas to your mileage to any subscriptions. All those are going to be costs that you can split up. Once you know that, then you can try and break down how much it is you're making. It depends on the product and what your margins are each month and each product that you're actually selling. You could get to 500 easily, as long as it's it depends if you're wanting to go ahead and take some of that money and put it back into your account, or you want to continue to grow it and put it back into your business. So it all depends on what route you want to take. Okay. what I did is I took a lot of my money. I just kept putting it back into the arbitrage business, and I just kept doing that. And then from there, little by little, you're going to build up after, like Eric was saying, about a year. It takes about that long to where you're going to have at least a decent amount that's coming in, and you can do that and make that good amount. It all depends on your products and what you're going to choose, and making sure that you make good decisions what you're going to sell.
Yeah. And my approach is a little different than Regina's. If she's saying she put all her money back into the business. I did that for the first couple months, but I kind of did it. I've done it like a stairway. And so I would put money into the business until I got to a certain point that I felt like I could confidently have, I don't know, just an arbitrary number, for example, but say $500. And so then I would just enjoy that $500 a month until I got to a point where I kind of had reset in my mind and thought, all right, now what could I do to take things to the next level? And I might just make a couple simple decisions. I started taking trips where I would take all the seats out of the minivan and take a day off of work. And I would drive to like a neighboring city, and I would create a route and just do arbitrage until the minivan was full and then come home. And that really gave a boost to my inventory and my sales. And so I was able to go, from $500 to say $1,000 a month. And then I just kind of enjoyed that and, checking off goals along the way. So I wanted there to be enough income so that I could check off goals. I've never been of a mindset to just roll into the business. I wanted to make money, and I wanted to make it sooner than later because I was in debt and I wanted to get rid of that debt. And so that's kind of been my approach. And I've just put one foot in front of the other and kind of stair climbed my way to where I'm at today. And to be honest with you, I've been steady for like a year and a half, which I've enjoyed, but I haven't done anything to go up higher. And my conversations with Alan and others and my work on this program have kind of challenged me to maybe do that. And I told you on this program a couple of weeks ago that I hired my first employee. And so that's kind of my attempt to move into the next step. But that was my approach to it, Salima. But you got to come up with what you think will work for you. But we're all about being realistic. Regina's right. I mean, it's going to take you the better part of a year to get to a real solid place of having created margin. So if you're under the impression that selling on Amazon is a quick opportunity to fast riches, you're not getting that impression from us, because that hasn't been our experience, and that's not what we're trying to promote. We're trying to promote working hard, putting in some hustle and some consistent work to eventually get to a point of having margin that's real and ongoing. Ashley, you're just starting doing arbitrage, which is fantastic, and I think your question's a good one. What are the benefits and the drawbacks to FBA versus FBM? So FBA is fulfillment by Amazon that I described earlier, where you package all your items together and you ship them to a fulfillment center, and Amazon does all the work. FBM is fulfilled by merchant, or fulfilled by me, you could say, and then each time you sell a product, you package and ship that product. So the benefits and the drawbacks, I think the benefits to FBA are massively overwhelming. One, Amazon's doing all the work, so they enable you to scale your business. I sell between 1,000 and 1,500 items a month, and the only way I can do that is because Amazon takes care of all of that. The drawback to FBA is that they charge you fees for doing all of that. But in my experience, the FBA fees haven't been that much more expensive than what you pay when you're doing FBM. One, if you sell any item FBM that's over a pound, now you've got to pay a prorated scale of shipping. So, if I sell a 2-pound item to a guy in New Hampshire, I'm okay. If I sell a 2-pound item to a guy in California, I really take it on the chin. And the amount of postage I have to pay to ship that product from Vermont all the way to California often destroys my profit, really eats into it substantially. I'm not having to deal with that in an FBA situation where Amazon's taking care of that. Even though I'm paying FBA fees, oftentimes it doesn't matter. So some of the benefits to doing FBM is you can sell small items that are first-class shipping items. And, it doesn't take a lot to store. I've got one right here that's a good example. Here's a little Superman. He turns back into Clark Kent. And a funny story about this, Amazon does some weird things. This got flagged as hazmat. It's just a stuffed animal. I mean, there's not a battery or a piece of metal or anything, but it got flagged as hazmat. And one of the advantages to FBA is that you can sell items that are flagged as hazmat. Amazon won't let you sell any hazardous materials in FBA. So even though this isn't hazardous at all, I'd let my 18-month-old play with one. It got flagged that way, and so I just held on to these, and I'm selling them FBM, and they're like 2 ounces, and I don't even need to really. I mean, there's nothing to protect here, so I just put this in an envelope and ship it out. And even if I ship this to California, it's going to be less than $3. So those are some of the advantages that I think of right away. With FBA, you can scale. Amazon's doing the work. You're not having to search for boxes and pay additional shipping fees. You can scale your business because of that. And another big advantage to FBA is that you can win the buy box more readily, and you can win it at a higher price. So Amazon will give you priority if you're selling FBA when it comes to the buy box. So if Regina has the same item I do, but she's FBM, and I have the item FBA, and we're both selling it at $19.95, I'm going to get the buy box probably every single time, with some exceptions, rare exceptions. Now, what's cool is that I could raise the price to $20.95, and I'm still going to get the buy box more than Regina. So a lot of times I can make FBA sales at a higher price than I would at FBM, and that can compensate for some of the extra fees, or it can even result in me making more money on the item, especially if it's a heavy item that I'd have to pay people to ship it on. Anything you'd add to that, Regina?
No, it's true. Actually, the FBA is going to definitely give you the hand up as far as being able to sell something. I mean, I've seen some FBM sellers that do sell more than the FBA, but usually it's because their price is so significantly much less than the price you'll have for FBA. But yeah, that will usually always win out most of the time than not compared to FBM.
Yeah, that's really good. Mm-hmm. And I had thought of, while you were talking, I thought of one more advantage for FBA, and now I forgot what. Oh, a lot of people, I've talked to a good number of people who tell me, friends and family, when I shop on Amazon, I never buy anything if it's not fulfilled by Amazon. So they still have a suspicion about buying something directly from a third-party seller, which would be FBM. But if they see the Prime logo, which some FBM sellers can get now, but if they see the Prime logo and they know it's fulfilled by Amazon, they'll go ahead and add it to cart. And I think a lot of customers don't even realize they're not buying directly from Amazon. But I do think you run into that as an FBM seller. Sometimes you get customers who would buy your product, but they don't want to buy from a third-party seller. Emo says, sellers outside the U.S., how can you make your payment? I've heard the same thing you've heard, that there's different places that won't accept international credit cards. So what we recommend is that you set up a U.S.-based bank account, and you get a U.S.-based Visa card. Then it's not as much of an issue. And you can use a service called Payoneer to facilitate that. So I'm US-based. I've never actually done that, but I know a lot of our members, that's exactly what they do. And we've got a ton of international members that are doing effective arbitrage. They buy from .com websites, and they use US-based accounts to do that. And then they set up their Amazon account with those US-based accounts. They buy it from .com websites, have it shipped to a prep center that is a facility that actually preps the items for FBA on that seller's behalf, and then they sell on Amazon.com, and they do it all from an international location. Wild Dinosaur 968. I don't understand this statement. He says FBA is better than arbitrage. That's like saying football is better than spaghetti. I'm not sure exactly what it means. When you're doing arbitrage, you can choose to do either FBA or FBM, and I think FBA is better. And if you're talking about how to sell on Amazon, you could say, I want to do private label or wholesale or arbitrage, and you might say wholesale is better than arbitrage, but I'm having trouble understanding what it means that FBA is better than arbitrage. But that's my explanation of the statement. Is there any item you would stay away from for this business, Regina? What would you avoid? Anything?
As far as FBM and everything goes, or even selling, I like the hazmat. You never know what you're going to run into with the hazmat. I've come across some things that were just crazy hazmat. Matter of fact, this past year, just to sort of tie onto that a little bit too, a little extra information, Amazon was flagging a lot of items as hazmat. and it didn't make sense because they were related to some sort of pesticide product or something like that. So there was a way around it. You had to go through some education. Amazon cleared a lot of things, but it caused a lot of grief amongst sellers on Amazon because they couldn't understand how their little Superman doll, like you've got there, is considered something to be a pesticide or something like that. So not exactly what you were talking about. Superman's not a pesticide guy, he's a good person. So yeah, it's not, the one thing we know about Amazon is that they're always changing. They're never stagnant. And sometimes you got to learn to keep up with them, and you got to go with the flow. So as things change time by time, he's going to say, okay, it's just another Amazon change, and you sort of go with the flow. I mean, we are playing in their little ballpark or their sandbox, so we have to abide by their rules and all. So that would just happen to be one of those things that we had to go through extra training. You had to watch all these videos and something and so forth. So, sometimes you just got to keep that in mind and don't get frustrated. Get frustrated on the bigger things when you go back to IP complaints that Eric was talking about. Those are the things to get frustrated about. Having to watch some videos, about pesticide warnings and all this kind of stuff. That's like little inconvenience, takes time out, but it's not that big of a deal. So just take it all in perspective as far as the big picture is going to be,
Yeah, so that might be an item to avoid, anything that's hazmat, because it's just, you have to deal with it yourself. You can't sell it FBA. So, if you're scanning products like roach killer or, spray on paint for like doing crafts or sometimes gel markers, that sort of thing, just kind of have an antenna that when you're scanning products that are like that, they'll have the potential to be hazmat. That doesn't mean you can't sell it. It just means you can't sell it FBA. And a lot of times I want to avoid products if I can't do it FBA. I also, avoid products that are just going to be extremely difficult and clunky to handle. So I've never really been an advocate for selling large vases or things like that. Although sometimes big products, I've sold ceiling fans and they can be lucrative, but they're in pretty easily shippable boxes. I try to avoid extremely fragile products that are maybe made out of glass or I don't know, I've never wanted to sell drones or things like that because they seem susceptible to having malfunctions and stuff. So maybe that's my own issue, but and maybe drones isn't the best example, but I know I've run into certain electronic products that I've been a little nervous about. Cell phone cases and things like that there's such rapid turnover. I don't typically do a lot of with arbitrage because I see them on the clearance and I'm like, I know these are antiquated already and they're probably going to be hard to sell. But other than that, I mean, one of the cool things about arbitrage is that there isn't a lot you stay away from. If the BSR shows that it's selling and you can make money out of it, I'm all for it. If it's morally appropriate, then I get behind it and I sell it. Loving it. Welcome. What makes you choose arbitrage over private label? Have you done private label before? Regina, you want to take a swing at that question?
It is like milk and cookies. They go together, but they're completely different. Arbitrage, you're going to find products like we're talking about out there in the market, and you're going to put them on listings that already exist. Okay, so you can buy arbitrage products where you might only have to buy 5 or 10 of them, however many small amount that you're wanting to do. You go on a listing that's existed, which makes your rankings going to be really good, so it's going to sell quicker. Private label, you're having to go and design and work with manufacturers and tell them exactly how you want your product to be, how you're going to package it. You got to worry about shipping coming from where the country you're coming from. Not saying it's bad, it's completely different on how you get to that point. But once you get past all that designing and working with engineers and then working with the manufacturer, how it's going to be and know what the weight's going to be and the size is going to be, and you put all that together, you have to then develop your own listing. And when you develop your own listing, you are starting from zero. You're starting from the bottom end because now your listing has no ranking whatsoever. Think is what a high number is for rankings. That's probably what it is. So then you gotta then do a lot of advertising and do a lot of research that costs money to try and get your listing to where it's going to start selling more. And so you'll get that BSR at a low point too in that particular category, so you can start selling some. So it takes a lot of work. Arbitrage takes a lot of work as well. It's just different. But then once you get your product there, then you're doing your advertising. It's going to cost you some money. So your expenses are going to be higher to where a private label, typically you'll make some money, but your first round of private labels usually are not going to be your $1 million product. Those are going to be the ones that you're going to be learning from. But if it's a good product that sells good and you reorder, then you can start making more and more money too as you're going on from there. So the process is longer, but there's a lot of things that are simpler about it. You make one listing, not maybe 20 or 30 listings. So it's completely different. Both are great avenues to try and get into and to learn from and to build. It's just different ways to do it. Arbitrage would be easier because you can build your revenue quicker. Private labels can take a little longer to get there. And some people will do a private label product and it'll take them 3 or 4 months just to get to the end result where it's finally shipped to Amazon. So it's not something you can turn over in a single night. And if you were to go and buy things off of some of the sites like an Alibaba one, that exactly like everybody else is selling, you can treat it like an arbitrage one, and that's something you can do. But usually you're going to buy thousands, not just 5 or hundreds. And it all depends on what you buy is what the cost is going to be too. So you don't know if it's going to be profitable or a good seller. So just options. Different World are both great. And what's great is we have 2 memberships here, Just One Done too, so that we can actually help you to grow and to learn how to do your private label, and then also best ways to look at arbitrage as well.
Yeah, and if you scroll down in the description below, about halfway down, there's a link to FBA Mastery, which is the private label membership with Just One Dime, and you can take a look at that as well. For me, I just think it fits my personality. Arbitrage fits my personality and my life circumstances better. So the investment for private label is a lot more upfront, both time and money, and that was a deterrent in the beginning. From a business perspective, I have the business capital to try private label again. I mean, I've done a little bit with it and not been real successful at it. But I've never really run it at full throttle, and I probably could do that from a business capital perspective, but the amount of time and energy that it would take to really get over the learning curve has just caused me to hesitate because I work full time. I don't want to change the fact that I work full time in the job that I do. I've recently made a career change into the career that I want to be doing, and arbitrage enabled me to do that, but I want to keep that being my primary area of focus. So if the day comes when I can figure out how to work private label into that, then I'll do it because I'm convinced it could work, and I've kind of got the arbitrage foundation I want. But I think one favors a certain personality and another favors the other, and you might find out what works for you. I definitely advocate working in both realms and kind of find out, maybe you really can hit it with both and they'll serve each other really well, because I think they dovetail together nicely. But that's kind of how I approach it and why I've done it the way I have. Are there items that you've been able to repeatedly sell? Yes, they're fun to find. We call them replens. Products are nice. They're often not like clearance items. They're items that you would find just kind of in the very normal section of a store, and for whatever reason you scanned it, or you had you thought that it might be an item that you could make money on, and now you can go back to the store or the supplier and just get a steady stream of them. And so yeah, they're out there and they're really fun to find. And I think sometimes the wholesale approach is really aiming more for that kind of thing, where you can buy a larger quantity of product and just continue to sell it. So sometimes in the arbitrage world, you kind of run up against that, where you can, I've bought 40 or 50 of a product before, and so I wouldn't really call that wholesale. But as I was doing arbitrage, I just saw that the BSR was so strong, or the margin was so great, that I decided to buy that many. Or maybe I bought 5 or 6 and they just sold in like a week, and I went back and the store had more, and I find that it's just an item that's readily available, and for whatever reason I'm able to make money on it. So yeah, they exist. And there's things you can do to try to find them. A lot of it's tedious scanning of non-clearance items to just kind of see what might be out there, or just giving some thought to what items you think might be at a discount for you locally that you could take advantage of a higher price on Amazon. Truth and reason. I have an opportunity to buy a pallet of Amazon items that I assume are returns. Would it be safe to sell these items on Amazon? My big answer would be no. I avoid returns. In fact, I've run into problems with this in my arbitrage business because The biggest place of problem that I hit this is Home Depot. I get good deals for arbitrage at Home Depot, but a lot of times in their clearance sections, you'll find returned items, and I avoid them like the plague because they're probably going to get returned again. Customer's going to get them, and even if it's a quality item, it's not going to be packaged the same way, and I just get nervous about that. So you want your account health to stay good, and you want customer satisfaction to be high. So I have bought pallets of returned items, and you can make really good money on them. I wouldn't do it through Amazon. Though what you can do is get the pallet, and there's certain items on the pallet that maybe haven't even been opened, or it's like a stuffed animal. So if the stuffed animal's returned and you can look at it and see the bunny's ear hasn't been ripped off or something, you can just polybag it and send it in. So what I've found is that they're just a ton of work. So you can make money off of them. I found the majority of the items you have to end up selling through eBay, and you have to create all your own listings, and you have to do quality control on every single item. So I guess that's my answer, is that you could do it and make money. It would be a lot of work. It might be a good place to start, but I wouldn't just assume that you could sell all these items on Amazon. You would want to take it one item at a time and be very, very careful in how you handle those. Ashley Lands has another question. Do you create professional images for your arbitrage items? Regina's shaking her head. Why not?
No. Your arbitrage items actually are made to be purchased because they already belong to you can always sell them on a listing that already exists. So you don't have to take any pictures. That's what's great about arbitrage, is that listing is already built for you. The pictures are already there. The rankings are already there. The information, the history is already there. So all you have to do is you buy the items, you come back to your home and you list them and you send them in. So no, you don't take any kind of pictures at all. Definitely not. Unless you're wanting to sell them on other platforms, so like what Eric was talking about too. Then you're going to start from scratch. Yeah.
Yep. And that's unique to private label. You're creating your own listing. That's what we love about arbitrage, is you're not spending time doing any of that. So you're selling a lot of different items on already existing listings that not only are already existing listings, but they show a precedent for having already sold successfully on Amazon. So Amazon's giving you the data you need to be able to recognize and know, I can be confident that this will sell, or no, this won't sell. There's a lot of listings on Amazon that you don't want to sell because the listing isn't generating any sales. So I talk to a lot of people that say arbitrage doesn't work because they're buying products they have no precedent for selling on Amazon, and then they're frustrated. Oh, I bought all these products that I thought would sell and they didn't work. Well, it's because you thought they might sell, but you weren't basing your decisions on the data. And so that's really how arbitrage works, is you read the data that tells you this item's going to sell, it's going to sell at this price, and now I know I can make money. I'm making a confident investment in the product I'm buying, and I don't have to do any work with the listing. I package it, ship it off to Amazon, and then the item's going to sell. And if I can do that 100 or 1,000 times over, I'm really making good profit. Keith Lutz says he's new and what is arbitrage? I just described it a little bit, but you're finding products in one market where you can get them at a low price. So arbitrage is just an economic term whereby you buy low in one market and then you turn around and sell high in another market. And so that was the basis behind, the silk trade. But what's cool about Amazon is, I live in northern Vermont. I can go to Lowe's and buy a light bulb, and if that light bulb is on clearance for $5, I can turn around and sell it to, somebody who lives in rural Montana, and they might buy it for $15, and I'm leveraging a market without even going anywhere because of Amazon's FBA system and because of the online opportunity that Amazon has created. And so that's the cool thing about it. There's a lot of things that I can find in the northeast of the U.S. and I can sell all over the U.S. and frankly, all over the world. There are a lot of locations internationally that people come to Amazon.com and make purchases. I see sales to places like Brazil and Europe all the time. So that's what arbitrage is. You're just leveraging two different markets. And when the Amazon market gives you a price where you can make a profit and you're going to make a sale, now you've got a really good opportunity to make money. And if you add enough of those up, they generate consistent income. All right, Regina, we're going to put it into overdrive here and try to tackle the rest of these questions in the next few minutes. Steve Fish has at least half a dozen new books returned in the last 4 to 6 weeks. Will this hurt his performance records? And why would a book ever be returned? What do you say?
I would say for books, one thing about our books, they're completely different and handled differently than a lot of other products. Yes, you're going to make sure they're new. You're going to make sure that the condition is really good, from the pages to the spine to the whole cover and everything. There's a section on Amazon you want to read about books, because they want you to categorize the quality of that book based upon the categories they have listed. Most of that applies to used books, but if you got a new one, you want to make sure when you send it in that I always polybag my books, okay, just to protect them from anything that's spilled on them. Now, can they get dinged up a little bit like the corners or whatever? Well, yeah, they can, but that's not going to happen probably quite as much. So you want to make sure that you have your condition of your books very apparent as to what it is. Now, for being returned, I'm not sure what was the reason they gave to you why they were being returned. Was it returned because the customer didn't like the book or didn't fit the description, things like that? That's not going to necessarily hurt you, because that's just what the customer is saying, hey, it wasn't something I wanted. But now if they return the item saying it's defective, or that it was the wrong product, that you sent me a book on Superman versus I wanted a book on, about cats or something like that, then that can actually, if you did that enough over and over again, that could affect your account, because just the reasonings there. So it depends upon the reason as to whether it can hurt your account or not, your account health or not. But everybody gets returns all the time. It's very common, like Eric said at the very beginning, there's a lot more returns coming back to Amazon because they accept returns so easily. So customers don't think about it. But making sure the condition of your book, make sure it's a good seller, and make sure that you wrap it up, I polybag it, and make sure that it's at least protected that way, because it's very easy to get damaged. Well, you may have sent it in brand new, it may not stay looking that way after it goes through all the hands that it goes through just to be shipped out to customers. So just be wary of that as well.
And I wouldn't worry too much about it hurting your performance records. What it can do, if you have a number of items on one listing that are constantly getting returned, it might be a signal that you are selling something that doesn't match the listing, or that there's a problem with the items that you're selling. And then that listing can get deactivated by Amazon. So that can be a problem. But overall account health isn't typically given defect due to returns. Emo says, can we set a world first account in our seller account to receive the money? I don't know what that is or how to answer that. Do you, Regina?
Yeah, world first is like a bank account that a lot of those non-US sellers, they can set up. Just check to make sure, because I think there were some questions about world first earlier this year, about being accepted. So check on that. Payoneer is another one that's common for non-US, where you don't live in the States but you sell in the US. So check out a couple different checks. I know this question is asked in our Facebook group for our members, and those are probably the two most common that are mentioned, that for those that live outside the States and want to still here, so they're able to pay and get the money and everything else too. So world first is common.
The next question is about FBA again, and I think everything I said earlier applies to the same question. If you're doing it with your own brand, nothing really changes. Yes, you're paying storage fees. Yeah, you're paying FBA fees, but they tend to be worth it, because you're able to scale, and really the fees aren't that much higher. So I guess if you were selling a really small first class item and you wanted to do all the shipping yourself, you might want to do the calculations and see if you could make extra money selling at FBM. But then again, there's still people out there that aren't going to buy your product because it's only offered FBM. And that's a snag. So I think everything I said previously applies, even if you're doing your own brand. Most of the private label people I know are using FBA, and they are happy to pay Amazon to do all the work. In general, would you say you have to spend 3 times the amount you want to make per month? We talk about the 3X rule, where if you buy an item for $10 and sell it for $30, you're going to make an ROI of 100%. I don't know if that's why you're thinking that. I don't think that's a general rule. I think, if your ROI is 100%, then you could be making exactly what you spent minus the expenses you incur, which aren't insignificant. But I don't think you would have to spend 3 times the amount you want to make per month. It's hard to calculate, because of the snowball effect. You know, when you're first starting and your inventory is at zero, you've got to do some work to build your inventory. But when you've got a strong inventory, now each month you're selling products that have been in that inventory for a little bit. So you just want to keep feeding the inventory so that it's consistently generating revenue for you. But if you consistently spent, you know, 3 times, put in $3,000, you could expect to get out more than just $1,000 a month in the long run. So I don't think that's true. I think it's a lot. It depends on kind of what your conviction is for ROI and how you approach the business. But no, I don't think that's necessarily a safe assumption. Kyle missed my question, but Kyle, you can go back and listen to the replay. We got to get finished here. I did answer it. I tried to. Let's see. The Clark Kent is so cute. Put a comment below and maybe I'll sell you one. I don't know. Let's see. Can non-members still buy leads lists? We do offer leads lists through our Amazon Arbitrage Mastery membership, and you get the first month for free, and then you can decide what you want to do with it. So it's a nice perk. I think you can pay for the membership just with a free month of leads, in my opinion. But if you want to ask about this, I would email help@justonedime.com and ask them if you can have access to purchase the leads lists even though you're not a member. And they might say yes. I'm not sure what the answer to that is, but email help@justonedime.com. When we list the products, is it necessary to choose those with Amazon Prime? No, if you are selling Amazon FBA, you will be giving a Prime offering. So that's up to you. If there's a listing, then you can buy the product and list it. And when you list it, if you're using FBA, you'll have a Prime offering. That's all I know to say about that. If you have a product that has many elements like a package, is it possible to sell it as a package on Amazon? I think probably asking about bundles there. So if if I wanted to pair up Clark Kent with some other stuffed animal, if that's the question, the answer is yes. You would just put them in a poly bag together or in a package together, and you would sell it as one unit. But the listing would have to explain that it was both items. And again, in arbitrage, we're not looking to start new listings. So once in a while, I do happen into a listing where they're selling 3 of the item, and I can buy, a bunch of the item and bundle them in groups of 3, put them in a box or a poly bag together, and then sell them that way. But I want to do it if the listing has already got that set up. And the last question is, how do we win the buy box? Is the list price same as the buy box? Any impact? So when a seller chooses, they do a search and they click on a particular item, the next page they go to is what's called the buy box. It has a picture of the product. It has the title and the description with bullet points, and it has like the add to cart option. That whole thing is the buy box. And you want to win that buy box, because if there's multiple sellers on that listing, when a customer goes to that page, there's only going to be one seller who is offering that product. And if the customer just clicks add to cart, which they do 9 times out of 10, whoever wins the buy box is going to get the sale. So the question is, how do you win the buy box? The biggest variable to answer that is the price. And so you want to have a competitive price. What we recommend is that you always match the lowest FBA price. So if the lowest FBA price of this was $11.95, I would want to set my price at $11.95. And we constantly tell people, don't try to undercut by a penny or a nickel, because then you're just going to create a rat race and the price is going to drop. And really, sometimes we recommend going a penny higher. So I could put this at $11.96, and I'm still going to compete for the buy box, and I'm going to protect that race to the bottom. So now if I put it in at like $13.95 and there's an FBA seller at $11.95, I'm probably not going to win the buy box very often. Then there's smaller variables like your account health, your 5-star rating, whether or not your FBA or FBM is a huge factor. All of those things kind of work together to decide who's going to win the buy box. If all things are equal, my understanding is that it's random, and so you'll get your turn. And if it's a high selling product, which we recommend selling, then you don't really need to worry about the competition. If there's, if 5 of these are selling a day, then I'm going to make my sale somewhere along the way. Last question is for you, Regina. Is it possible to scale to $1 million my first year? I really need to have that money.
Not laughing. I'm like chuckling, saying, "Boy, I definitely want to do that as well." It's all gonna. Is it possible? Anything is possible. It depends upon what you're going to buy and the amount of money that you have to buy the products, and how aggressive you're going to be selling those products. And I say aggressive meaning that if you're going to go out and you're going to hustle all day and you're going to find those products by scanning and everything, and you're going to come home and you're going to sell your 10, 20,000 items per month, but making sure that your ROI is still 40 to 100% every single time, is it possible to make $1 million? Absolutely. It's just going to take a lot of work, more so than someone who's going to make the 30,000, for the year, or the 50,000, whatever it may be for that year. So it just depends. And if you're looking at the $1 million as a profit or $1 million as in sales, so there's a very difference there. You got to make sure you understand, because if you make $1 million in sales, doesn't necessarily translate into $700,000 or $10,000 in profits. It all depends on what you get and what your percentage and your profit margins are going to be, and how that translates into dollars too. And that's why you got to make sure you understand your numbers going into it, so you won't get it caught off guard.
Very good. Well, Regina, thank you for spending your time with us today. We're grateful for your help. Thanks for being with us. What would it be like to have margin and have freedom? And is it fun for you to make money on items like this and kind of put it together and sell on Amazon? Could you see achieving some of your goals and dreams? And I think selling on Amazon is a great opportunity, and doing arbitrage is a great opportunity. Check out our link below. Take a look at the membership. I think it would be a huge benefit to you. I think it would help propel you into a place where you could have more margin. There's a ton of content on there, a great community. Again, you get some free leads for online arbitrage that I think can be an immediate help to make up for some of the initial cost to the membership. You get the membership for a whole year, and it really will serve you. And I'd love to coach you more in a one-on-one setting. Regina would love to coach you more. We'd love to have you part of our community. So click the link below, take a look. Join us next week. We'll be doing this again every Saturday, noon Central Standard Time, different coaches from our membership. In the course, do you teach? I see one more question come in. In the course, do you teach online arbitrage too? Absolutely. We spend a lot of time, probably equal parts, on retail arbitrage and online arbitrage. We have a lot of members who are international members that do only online arbitrage. And so maybe we put more effort into doing that. But yeah, we think the most robust approach to arbitrage is to do both. And Regina and I do both. So good question. Guys, see you next week. Have a great weekend, and get out there and hustle and make yourself some margin. Take care now.
Bye-bye.